Brazilian President Lula da Silva visited the areas affected by heavy rains and landslides in the coast of Sao Paulo, where at least 36 people have died. Social movements in the northern regions of Peru started a 48-hour strike against Dina Boluarte and Congress. An earthquake of magnitude 6.4 shook the southern Turkish province of Hatay, representing the strongest aftershock after the devastating earthquakes of February 6. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Brazilian President Luis da Silva overflew on Monday the areas which have been hit by heavy rains and landslides in São Paulo coast, especially in São Sebastião, where at least 36 people died. In a message posted last night on Twitter, Lula said that all levels of government will be brought together to attend to the injured, search for the missing and restore roads, power and telecommunications links in the region. Lula also regretted the death caused by the rains and expressed solidarity with the families. Rescue workers continue to search for at least 40 missing people, as well as reconnecting isolated communities and clearing blocked roads that trapped an unknown number of tourists who traveled to attend carnival celebrations. Sao Paulo's state government said in a statement that 35 people died in the city of Sao Paulo and a 7-year-old girl was killed in neighboring Ubatuba. In Chile, authorities maintain a state of emergency due to wildfires in the south-central region. At present, there are 260 active forest fires in the country, of which 77 are currently being fought in the central-southern region. According to recent figures released by Interior Undersecretary Manuel Monsalve, the flames have already consumed 429,000 hectares, destroyed some 1,987 houses, and affected over 7,000 people. Monsalve said high temperatures, low humidity, and strong winds will continue through the week, conditions that help the fires to spread. The Chilean official also stated that although the emergency continues, fundamentally in the regions of Biobío, Ñuble, and La Araucanía, the situation is more contained. Finally, he urged the population to avoid risky behavior with activities that incite the spread of the fire. Mozambicans are bracing for more heavy rains as another tropical cyclone gathers pace in the Indian Ocean and moves towards the southeastern African coastline. In this sense, Mozambican President Filipe Nyusi returned early to the country from the African Union summit in order to monitor his nation's response to heavy rains and the impending tropical cyclone Freddy. In the same way, the National Institute of Meteorology warned that Freddy would make landfall in Madagascar on Tuesday and is then expected to re-enter the Mozambican Channel by February 24th. This will be the second cyclone to hit the East African nation this year, following Cyclone Gombe that affected parts of the country in late January. Social organizations and unions in the Peruvian region of Arequipa participated on Monday in a new day of protest to demand the resignation of appointed President Dina Boluarte. Gathering the front for the defense of the northern cone of Arequipa, the groups explained that the mobilization was agreed in a meeting with representatives of other unions in the Peruvian city. In addition to workers' unions, students, vendors, and civil construction workers of the Arequipa region also joined the demonstrations. Organizers of the protest stated that demonstrators went down several streets of the city until they reached the historic center. In addition to press for Dina Boluarte's resignation, protesters also demanded the dissolution of Congress and early elections. In Bolivia, there are 8,700 officially reported cases of dengue fever in 7 of its 9 regions, and so far 29 people have died from the disease. Most of the cases have been reported in Santa Cruz, the largest region in the country. Health Minister Jason Ausa said on Monday that the dengue case fatality rate stands at 0.3%. He has stressed that regarding dengue, the key is to eliminate mosquito breeding grounds, so he asked people to support government actions by cleaning spaces that could pose a risk for the proliferation of the vector. Reports indicate that 57% of cases occur in the age group of 6 to 29 years, and the disease is currently found in 14 of the 15 provinces. On Sunday, Cuba's Minister of Foreign Trade, Rodrigo Malmierca, arrived in Colombia as part of an official visit to strengthen bilateral ties. Cuban authorities of their portfolio and of the National Institute for the Surveillance of Medicines and Food also participate in the meeting. Malmierca is set to strengthen the commercial cooperation and brotherhood ties between the two countries. According to his agenda, the visit will roll out until Wednesday, as the Cuban Foreign Trade Minister will meet with the President of ProColombia, the government agency in charge of promoting Colombian exports, international tourism, and foreign investment, and will hold a meeting with the authorities of Banco DEX, Development Bank for Business Growth in Colombia. Both countries established diplomatic relations in 1902 based on mutual respect and the observance of international law. National and international organizations reject the militarization of Haiti. The offer made by Canada at the CARICOM summit strengthens the campaign against intervention in the country. 8 days before the Caribbean States Summit, several organizations addressed a letter to the leaders of the member states. The International Conference of Solidarity with Haiti denounced the actions of Prime Minister Ariel Henry, who enabled the country to be a reflection of slave colonies. In this context, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced plans to send a warship to the Haitian coast, prompting the urgent relaunch of the campaign. Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account at teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. An earthquake of magnitude 6.4 occurred on Monday in the southern Turkish province of Hatay, representing the strongest aftershock after the devastating earthquakes of February 6, according to the Turkish emergency agency, AFAD. The tremor, whose epicenter was located in Defne and at a depth of 2 kilometers, according to the European Mediterranean Seismological Center, occurred at around 8 p.m. and was felt in Antakya and Adana, 200 kilometers to the north. The tremor produced panic movement among the population and raised significant dust clouds. A second magnitude 5.8 center in Samandak district of Hatay shook the region several minutes later, Türkiye's emergency management agency said. According to AFAD, more than 6,000 aftershocks have been recorded since the 7.8 magnitude earthquake devastated southern Turkey and Syria. The United Nations reports that at least 8.8 million of those affected by the earthquake in Syria will need some form of humanitarian assistance. According to UN Deputy Special Representative for Syria, Najat Roshdi, the UN is committed to helping all Syrians. However, activists, rescuers, and international humanitarian organizations denounce lack of UN aid to northwest Syria, an area controlled by extremist groups backed by Western powers. In addition to bureaucratic hurdles, there are associated logistical problems such as the lack of an effective road infrastructure due to years of war. So far, 140 trucks have arrived from Turkey to the rebel-held areas of northwest Syria. U.S. President Joe Biden arrived Monday in the Ukrainian capital of Kiev on an unannounced visit. Ukraine's media showed the picture of the head of the White House in the monastery of St. Michael of the Golden Domes. Minutes later, President Zelensky reported on the arrival of the president, who was astonished that 1 year after the war, Ukraine is still standing. The president's agenda is kept under reserve. He was at the government headquarters where he reaffirmed his commitment to the Ukrainian peer, to whom he will deliver $500 million of additional aid. Although there was no shelling, upon Biden's arrival, all the country's sirens were activated. The Russian investigative committee is looking into the United States citizens and some officials of the Ukrainian Defense Ministry in connection with their involvement in the creation of biological weapons on Ukrainian territory. According to Investigative Committee Chief Alexander Bastrigikin, the ministry continued to gather and document evidence of Kiev violation of the Convention on the Prohibition of Development, Production and Stockpiling of Bacteriological and Toxin Weapons and on their destruction. He added that at present more than 10 U.S. citizens as well as a number of Ukrainian Defense Ministry officials are under investigation for their involvement in double-purpose biological programs. Hundreds of citizens and social organizations from across the United States demanded answers about the military's ties to U.S. democratic institutions. During a rally in front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., demonstrators denounced the Joe Biden administration is dedicated to increasing the profits and influence of the military-industrial complex while abandoning any promise of welfare for the majority of U.S. citizens. Organizers explained that they are against the massive flight of money to Ukraine, as well as the U.S. role in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Speakers also heavily criticized the U.S. military-industrial complex, a powerful interest group made up of military, private defense contractors, and politicians. Trade turnover between Russia and the United Arab Emirates increased by 68% in 2022 with an outstanding record of $9 billion. Russia's Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov made the remarks on the sidelines of the International Defense Exhibition IDEX 2023. According to Manturov, exports from Russia to the UAE amounted to more than $8 billion, while imports totaled $500 million. The Russian Deputy Prime Minister added the numbers reflected a positive and beneficial partnership between both countries. IDEX 2023, an international exhibition of military equipment and weapons, is being held in Abu Dhabi from February 20th to the 24th. Thousands of ambulance workers on Monday began walkouts across the United Kingdom and Wales over unresolved pay increases. So far, more than 10,000 workers remain on strike in Wales and in 7 of the 10 ambulance trusts in England. The GMB union, whose members work in nearly all industrial sectors, including the ambulance service, said in its Twitter account that the government is to blame entirely for the situation, since they refuse to talk pay with workers. Meanwhile, ambulance workers in Wales joined Monday's strike after rejected a new pay offer from the Welsh government. We have more news coming up after a fast short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. Palestinians in the Jerusalem area launched a campaign of civil disobedience to protest Israeli abuses. Palestinian youth shut off the entrance to occupied East Jerusalem Shuafat refugee camp with barricades and dumpsters, while Israeli forces fired rubber bullets and tear gas canisters that left at least 3 wounded. The youth called on the population not to attend workplaces located inside Israel and to boycott the occupying state by not paying bills and taxes. In this way, the activists reaffirmed their determination to continue with the civil disobedience until Israeli authorities end their repressive practices against their neighborhoods and towns. During the past week, the Israeli crackdown on the Palestinian population involved the demolition of at least 7 buildings, the arrest of 100 people, the installation of dozens of roadblocks and checkpoints, and the confiscation of money and property of former and current political prisoners, among other measures. Russia and Iran condemned an Israeli attack that killed 5 people and injured 15 in Syria's capital, Damascus. Both nations strongly expressed their rejection after Syrian air defenses repelled an Israeli aggression on the Kafar Souhat neighborhood in Damascus on Saturday. As a result, 5 people were killed, including a soldier, while 15 civilians were injured and several houses were destroyed. Iranian and Russian officials called the attack a flagrant violation of international law. In this sense, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova urged the Israeli government to refrain from steps with dangerous consequences for the entire region. The attack on Damascus came less than 2 weeks after a deadly 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck northern Syria and southern Turkey. The Tunisian Coast Guard announced on Sunday that it had intercepted more than 400 migrants in a single night off the country's coast. According to a statement made by the Guard spokesman, the units foiled 16 crossing operations and rescued 423 people. Among the rescued are 71 Tunisians and 352 nationals of sub-Saharan African countries. Tunisia, whose coastline is less than 150 kilometers from the Italian island of Lampedusa, is a common passageway for asylum seekers to leave for Italy, usually fleeing conflict areas and worsening living conditions. According to official Italian figures, more than 32,000 migrants, including 18,000 Tunisians, arrived in the European country from Tunisia in 2022. South Sudan President Salva Kiir on Monday called on rebels to resume peace talks in the framework of the Juba Agreement for Peace. During the signing on the implementation of the Juba Agreement, the president also called on leaders of Sudanese opposition groups that are not part of the peace agreement to join the country's peace efforts. Salva Kiir stated that with the signing, his government can now engage in dialogue with the resistance, political and social groups to achieve a comprehensive peace. Key issues in the agreement include security arrangements for Darfur, South Kordofan and Blue Nile State, as well as the exchange of wealth and power with opposition groups in central and northern Sudan. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said on Monday that the revelations of the renowned U.S. journalist Seymour Hersh about the sabotage about the Nord Stream gas pipeline last year are cause for a thorough investigation. According to his words at the press conference, Nord Stream used to be considered Europe's energy lifeline. He added that the explosions dealt a severe blow to the global energy market and the global environment and sparked fears across Europe of a long, cold winter. One asserted that an objective, impartial and professional investigation of the incident is required after the article published by Hersh, who claimed that it was U.S. Navy divers who, with Norwegian help, placed explosives on the Nord Stream pipelines in June 2022. Russia, for its part, submitted a draft resolution to the UN Security Council on Friday, urging an independent international investigation into the explosions on Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2. North Korea fired two short-range ballistic missiles on Monday using its most modern launcher in its second launch in 48 hours. On Saturday, it had fired one of its powerful intercontinental ballistic missiles, which was followed by joint air exercises performed by Washington and Seoul. According to Pyongyang, Monday's fire was precisely in response to those maneuvers, and authorities blamed the United States and South Korea for the deteriorating security situation in the Korean peninsula. The North Korean leader's sister, Kim Jong-un, warned in a televised statement that the country is closely monitoring joint actions by Seoul and Washington, and stated that North Korea's use of the Pacific as a firing range depends on the actions of U.S. forces. We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.